Leigh Steinberg is one of the most famous and significant agents in the history of big-time sports. He represented Warren Moon, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, and the #1 pick in the NFL draft 6 times. He was, of course, the inspiration for Jerry Maguire. He has a new book out, The Agent, has a book signing at the Barnes & Noble, 82nd and Broadway, tonight at 7 p.m. We are happy to have him here with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jonas. My pleasure.
All right, let's start off. You were a guy who represented plenty of athletes. If you were before we get to the book, if you were representing Richard Sherman today, how would you advise him?
Richard Sherman knew exactly what he was doing. He was branding himself. I mean, this picture looks like Miley Cyrus twerking without the sexual aspect.
Without exactly looking like twerking, yes.
He's a very bright guy who got great grades at Stanford. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he pre-planned to do something like that. And now he gets a lead start on coming into this amazing machine that is Super Bowl media, and it will blow him up and brand him.
Well, let's get to the book. Obviously, you know a lot about blowing up other athletes, if you will, and branding them. You're sort of branding yourself here in a sense. So many people, so many things have been based on you. Jerry Maguire most famously. Did you write the book so there's a first-person narrative of exactly how it really went?
Yes. So Jerry Maguire, I talk about Cameron Crowe following me around to the league meetings in 1993 and to the draft back here with Drew Bledsoe being the first person, and I told him stories, lots and lots of stories.
Without the distortion of Hollywood involved necessarily.
We were just researching, so I explained to him a whole bunch of things in my own life and how it went. And then he wrote the script, and I actually took Cuba Gooding Jr. with me down to the Super Bowl, made him pretend he was a wide receiver for a week to put him in part.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I had to vet the script, because in a sports movie, the willing suspension of disbelief that keeps you in an artificial situation gets broken if it looks too lampoonish or spoofish. I mean, sports fans know if the look is wrong or the cartoonish dialogue. Then they descended on my office and took photos of me and put put Jerry Maguire into that, and he took my awards and they shot out the window. I actually had to show Jerry O'Connell, the quarterback,
how to throw, right?
How to throw spiral, because he had gone to NYU and they didn't have football.
That's funny.
Leigh, talk a little bit about how you saw the concussion problem coming before others did.
So it became clear to me when I was representing a good deal of NFL quarterbacks back in the 80s and 90s, something intuitively was wrong. They were getting these head injuries. We would go to doctors. How many are too many? They had no answer. They couldn't tell us when someone should retire. So I started in the 90s with a series of concussion seminars where we got the leading doctors together to talk to the players. And Warren Moon and Troy Aikman, Rob Johnson, Steve Young all came. So at least they had to listen to this. And put a white paper out that wanted a neurologist on the sideline, a standardized regimen, not much change. So we went back around in 2007, and Warren Moon and I had a conference in Los Angeles where then we had the neurologist who said 3 or more is a magic number, then you have an exponentially higher rate of Alzheimer's, ALS, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So I've called it a ticking time bomb and an undiagnosed health epidemic. I think it's an existential threat to football, because when an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman hit on the inception of every play, it produces a low-level concussive hit. So you can have an offensive lineman walk out of football with 10,000 subconcussive hits in practice and games, none of which has been diagnosed, and the aggregate of which is much more impactful on the brain than getting knocked out 3 times. So if you have 30% of the mothers in this country tell their kids, you can play any sport except football. Football won't die. It's just the socioeconomics will change, so the same people will play it that box right now. It's clear you get brain dead.